Yes. Would you like to kindly share with us the story of your journey and personal growth during your formative years?
Sure. I guess at least during my childhood, I was born and raised in the state of Illinois, and went to school there for my early schooling years, and then right after seventh grade, I moved to Florida. So me and my five siblings and my mother and father, we all up and moved to Florida, which was quite a change. And then I went to school, to college in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I studied journalism and Spanish.
Wow, you speak Spanish?
Yeah, enough.
Oh, that's
Not
amazing.
perfectly, but enough.
Yes, tell us about your trip, your yoga practice in India. Yeah.
Okay, well, after college, I spent 1 year living in San Francisco, and then I got on a boat and was a crew member on a boat, and I sailed across the ocean, and I ended up in Polynesia and Micronesia and Hawaii and Thailand and Micronesia and India and other places, Malaysia. And then when I was in Thailand, I learned about meditation. So I lived at a forest monastery in southern Thailand and basically started learning to sit on the floor and learning to be aware of the breath, and basically just starting to learn about meditation and what that means. And then I started, being a Westerner from Illinois, we didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't even know what yoga was back then. So I started hearing about this thing called yoga, which is coming from India, and so I really felt like I wanted to learn what that was. So I went from Thailand to India, and I spent 6 months in India learning more about meditation and more about yoga. And then I returned to India about a year after that for another 6 months. So I spent about 12 months in India.
Wow. Do you still meditate on your own?
Yes, I do. Yeah, the process is always evolving, but it's still very much a part of wellness and physical wellness and staying healthy. That's all important to me, and evolving and opening your heart and being compassionate and learning. And one of the things we're going to talk about is compassion for animals, and that's been so important to me. And that's where in India I went. I don't know if I should tell this now, but when I was in India, I was at a monastery just sort of learning and experiencing, and I met these two people from England, and they said, "Would you like to have dinner with us?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And they said, I said, "Well, I haven't eaten meat in like 2 weeks." And they said, "Oh, well, we don't eat meat." And I said, "Oh, okay." And so they made me dinner, and they talked about what vegetarianism was, and it was really the first time I knew anything about it. And so I stayed there, and we cooked, and I learned more and more about vegetarianism, and then I went fully vegetarian. And then, like I said, I was vegetarian 30 years ago, fully vegetarian, and I've been vegan now for 10 years.
Do you feel that your health is good?
My health is great. Yeah. But for me, it's about the animals firstly, and then the planet, and then my own health is a benefit to that.
Would you like to talk about how being vegan is beneficial for the planet?
Sure. Well, it's the animal agriculture is basically destroying our planet. Starting off with the rainforests and how we're just decimating the rainforests, football field after football field after football field, by the minute and by the day. We're killing our planet by the day. It's fully unsustainable, tragic. it saddens me to see the rainforest being burned and cut and the animals being slaughtered and abused, and we just need to wake up to it, and we need to say, we need to be responsible for our actions and say that I can no longer do this. We've seen all of the evidence, and all of the evidence is saying that there's no reason to keep eating animals, and it's wrong to do it. It's wrong to continue to do it. There's no excuses anymore.
Thank you for explaining that, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you. Back to the questions. Would you please share with us how your artistic journey began and how you come to being a full-time artist that you are now?
Sure. I am a self-taught artist, so I didn't go to school for art. And one day I just kind of got the idea that I'd start to paint. So I went off to the hardware store and I bought about 4 quarts of oil-based paint. And I sat down under a tree. It was hot like it is today. It was like 100 degrees in the summertime. And I just sat under the shade of the tree and I opened up those 4 quarts of paint and started painting on paper. And then I looked around for something better to paint on, and I had a big roll of roofing paper. So I rolled out the roofing paper and just started familiarizing myself with the paints and how the paints work and how the paints respond and how they dry and how you can apply them to the paper. And it was just, from there, it was just almost a daily practice of teaching myself to paint.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was there an inspiration?
Well, I am inspired by color. So I would say color is the primary inspiration. And flowers are so colorful that flowers became an easy sort of object to put my color into. So a lot of my paintings were fully abstract at first, and then I moved into florals, and since then it's been mostly florals and abstracts, but lately more florals.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are a full-time artist now.
Yes. So I opened this art gallery 10 years ago right here on Main Street, and I was really scared at first, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make ends meet, but I have. And about a year and a half ago, I opened a second adjunct gallery, sort of a pop-up gallery, and I have other forms of income. I have an Airbnb to help supplement the income, and other forms. So it's all working out, and I hope to keep it going. And as I was telling to you, I have, one of the things that's most important to me is spreading the word of what we're doing to the animals and what we're doing to the planet. And I talk to people that come in. I give literature to people that come in. I have signs out front informing and educating people. And it's pretty amazing, because I was telling you 10,000 people can go up and down this street per day. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds about right. And they're reading my signs, and conversations are happening. And that's really my goal is, you can argue or you can agree, but as long as you're starting the conversation, that's the most important thing. Because with conversation comes the truth. But if no one's having a conversation, then we're not getting to any truth at all. So it's my goal to start a conversation. And sometimes people come in and they congratulate me and they thank me. And more and more that's happening, where people are appreciating what I do. When I first started doing it, I got trolls coming in and saying, yeah, but this and yeah, but that, and you need to stop doing this. But I think that things are evolving, and we can't deny it anymore. Like I was saying, all the information is in now.
Yes, and that big sign you have out there about, I like how it says 56 billion and it's crossed out and it's 86 billion. Tell us about that.
Well, it's true. I think I made that sign less than 10 years ago. And you know how things just exponentially, the human population and the destruction and the further demand for animal products, and it's just been snowballing, and we're killing more animals now and faster, and we're killing the planet more and faster than we were even 10 years ago. So it's tragic.
Thank you for bringing that awareness to the public.
Thank you.
Yes. I think we touched on this next question already. It's please share with us your vegan journey and the reasons behind your decision to embrace a vegan lifestyle. Would you like to elaborate?
Sure. As I said, I'm just thinking out loud here, but I went fully vegetarian, and I came back to my family in Illinois, and this was totally foreign, and started doing yoga, and that was all totally foreign. But I stuck with it, and I moved to California, and I continued to be vegetarian, and then I started meeting people who were vegan, and I said, "Oh, well, I'm vegetarian," and they said, "Well, we're vegan," and they explained why, and at first it was just kind of annoying to me, like I get it, okay, but they explained, and I took it to heart, and I understood it intellectually, but a little bit of time went by before I went fully vegan. And what prompted that was social media, because I wanted to, even though I was vegetarian, I was very passionate about the animals, and I wanted to keep educating and keep informing people about the animals and what's happening to the animals. But I knew that I was being somewhat of a hypocrite, because I knew that I wasn't fully vegan, and I knew the atrocities that were happening in the dairy industry. So I said, well, I have to do this. I can't be a hypocrite anymore. And so I went fully vegan, and it really was not any big deal. I mean, I had pretty much reduced. I wasn't drinking milk. I'd reduced everything down to just a little bit of cheese, and when I just gave that up, and it was no big deal.
Thank you.
And I felt better about it. Yeah.
For those who may not know, what happens in the dairy industry?
Well, people sometimes forget. It's a cycle. It's a vicious, horrible, tragic cycle. But one of the 4 steps that people often will leave out is the fact that the female cow needs to get forcibly impregnated, but before that, we need to get the sperm from the bull. So basically, the bull is forced to give his sperm, and I don't know a whole lot about that process, but I know it's horrible exploitation, and it's this factory process of getting the semen from the male bull, and then they forcibly impregnate the female cow. And the female cow basically lives a life of slavery as a milk factory, living in, most of the times, atrocious conditions. And if and when that female cow has a baby boy, that baby boy will usually get sold off, immediately taken away from the mother, which is devastating and heartbreaking for the mother. And then that baby boy cow will be sold off, live in tiny little crates, usually sold off to the veal industry. And then if the mother cow gives birth to a female, then that female is subjected to the same atrocious life that the mother lived. And then the horrible final part of it all is that when that female mother is done being exploited her entire life, being forced to live in miserable conditions, being forced having her milk stolen and her baby stolen. She's forcibly impregnated many times throughout her life, and then when she's done giving, and when they're done taking, and when she's too old to give anymore, they kill the poor cow. And then the vicious cycle starts all over again with her daughter. And it's shameful and it's atrocious, but I think the best thing that we can continue to do is just educate people. And It's so important to protest and to get out in the streets and to yell, but I think that, as I was saying, we have to get the conversation started, and that's when we get some truth.
Thank you. Because a lot of people are vegetarian because they don't think that milk involves any killing, but little do they know.
Right. And a lot of people will say that dairy is actually worse than eating meat because at least the meat cows don't have to live the life of dairy slavery the way the dairy cows do.
That's right. Thank you for educating the public,
Yeah.
Mark. Thank you. Now, this next question refers to a quote that you said in a video tube at a rodeo protest, it seems like, about humanity being at a crucial turning point and that change is necessary. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes. We're getting back to the planet, we're killing the planet. And I think that, I don't want to be pessimistic, but it's honestly, it's now or never. And this is the crucial turning point. And it's sad to see what's happening. It's sad to be pessimistic, but we need to wake up and we need to stop now. 25 years ago would have been better, but now we have to do it.
It's reality, it's not pessimism.
Right. Yeah.
Right, you see all the ice melting, biodiversity loss, global wildfires.
Yeah.
It's
temperatures rising, seas rising.
That's right. Please tell us about your newest artwork series titled Flowers from Ashes.
Okay. Well, that was back in 2017 when Sonoma County had its terribly devastating wildfires. They swept through this part of the county, and then they swept through again, I think it was in 2018. But during 2017 and 2018, we had to evacuate this area, and houses were just burning to the ground, and the fires were sweeping through. And so as an artist, it was like, as the fire swept through and everything was just devastated, and there were heaps of houses and heaps of ash, I thought I want to go do something, and I'm an artist, so why don't I go do something? So I drove over to where the worst of the devastation was, and I brought a spade and a bucket, and I actually collected some of the ashes from the fire, and then I incorporated them into the flower series. So I got wet paint, and then I sprinkled the ash into the wet paint so it was embedded into the painting. And then on top of that, I did a floral series. So it was like flowers coming out of the ashes.
Rebirth.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow, how creative. Yes. What styles of paintings do you showcase here? I think it's mostly all just your paintings. Is that right?
Yes, when I first opened the gallery, I was showcasing other artists, and I had to sort of work with what sells best. And I still do bring in guest artists when I find one that I think is suitable. I'm always kind of looking out for because it's sort of a very specific niche of being downtown Guerneville here. So I'm always looking for the next artist to showcase, but for the most part, it's my art.
What style would you say this is?
I call it abstract florals. And as I said, I'm completely self-taught, so I think that has worked in my favor because people that go to art school, I think that they're taught how to paint and how not to paint. Whereas if you come from they call it a Zen mind, like an untrained mind, then I just have no preconceptions of what I should or shouldn't be doing, and this is the evolution, or this is the product of that. And I have many different styles. Some are more cartoonish, and some are florals. These are mostly acrylic paints on canvas. And I have larger works, and over the years, I've made and sold a lot of art, and my style continues to evolve.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Is there any particular buyer of your art that?
Yes, it's mostly to the tourists that come in. They'll be walking up and down Main Street, and they'll drop in and see something they love, and they'll buy it. And then I have some repeat customers. Usually those tourists will come back. I'll see them again a year later or 2 years later, and they'll come in and buy more. So I also sell on a website called Serena and Lily. So that reaches a really broad international audience. So I sell there, and I also have my website. So I sell off of my website too.
Wow, that's great. That's amazing. History tells us that artists live and die poor, but look, you're amazing.
Yeah, I got lucky with this gallery space on Main Street, and that has made all the difference.
That's great.
The foot traffic. Yeah.
That's right. I know. We've just been here a couple hours, and we've already seen people coming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate on your creative process when approaching your artwork?
Yes. When a work of art sells is when I'll be motivated to, like, if there's an empty space on the wall, then I know I have to make somebody to fill that spot. So that's when I really sort of know that I need to get motivated. So I'll kind of start where I left off. Like this piece, for example, is newer, and I work in series. So oftentimes I work in series of 3 or 4, and they all morph from one style to the next. But I'll usually do a series of at least 3, and I'll probably do several more of these, and then I'll get tired with this particular style, and it'll morph into something else, sometimes completely different. But I sometimes usually paint out of necessity, but I also need to feel inspired and get inspired between each work of art.
I see. And it seems like it's always changing and growing. That you're never going to be bored with painting.
Right. It's something I can do until late in life, hopefully.
Do you have a favorite art genre, and what is it about that style that appeals to you?
Well, expressionism, because I'm expressing myself, and I'm using the colors that I want to use, and I'm doing the form that I want to do. And so basically I'm expressing myself and my personality and my, need to share whimsy or color, mostly color, as I said.
Wow. It's so cheery.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have any upcoming plans for art exhibitions in the near future?
I do not. I am showing in an art gallery in Santa Rosa called Fulton Crossing, and they're showing my art. And then I'm showing here on Main Street, and I'm showing on the website Serena and Lily. So I have enough on my plate at the moment, but I've learned that over the years that things come along. And so I'm sure the next thing will come along, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, you already have a storefront presence on Main Street, and you don't need to go anywhere.
Right. Yeah, can't complain.
Do you see a growing popularity of veganism in Guerneville or even in Sonoma County?
I want to say yes, for sure, and I want to say that it's not happening fast enough, but it actually is happening. People are getting the word, people are learning, people are heeding the call. And we can't predict how it's going to happen, but what I do see happening is that people are they're making small changes, and I think that their children know more than they do, or their children have more ethics than adults do. So I think that people aren't necessarily going 100% vegan immediately, and although that sometimes does happen. But I think that people are sort of saying they're not being afraid to go into a vegan restaurant, and they're not afraid to have a vegan meal because it's becoming more mainstream, and the vegan products are getting absolutely delicious, and we're learning about health and wellness, and people drop in the gallery all the time, and they say, yeah, I'm vegan, or they want to learn more about it. And right now in Guerneville, there's a new vegan restaurant. It's called Green Grill. It's 1 block from here, and I'm thrilled, and so many people are thrilled. I was watching on social media, people are just thrilled to have a plant-based, fully vegan place in Guerneville. I know, and it's Indian flavored. So they do, the food's delicious, and I'm thrilled to have them. I try to support them when I can.
Oh, you can be sure we're gonna stop by that place.
Yeah, I want to.
About health, you see that people are more aware of the health benefits of veganism?
Sure, I think that back in the 50s, if you got on an airplane, everybody was smoking a cigarette. And that simply doesn't happen anymore. And people have learned the devastating toll that meat and dairy take on the human body. There's been definitive research, the China study, and cardiologists are waking up to the fact that Esselstyn's have produced all the information that we need to show this, that eating animals is killing the animals and the planet. It's killing our bodies too. The plaque buildup and obesity, hypertension. You know, I'm not a medical doctor, but there's so many good documentaries out now too. Forks Over Knives and Game Changers. All you have to do is sit down and watch 1 or 2 of those, and then there's the more atrocious ones that really will make you fearful and so sad. But there's my 2 favorite are Game Changers and Forks Over Knives.
What are the other atrocious ones?
It's slipping my mind.
Probably Earthlings.
Earthlings, yeah, and there's a couple other ones too.
Yes.
And I actually didn't want to sit down into a movie theater and watch that for 2 hours, so I haven't actually watched it because I've seen enough. I know I'm doing what I can. I don't need to fill my mind and body with more of that. It's awful.
Right. And you don't need to. You're already vegan.
Yes. Yeah.
What are some of your favorite vegan products that you eat? Yeah.
Well, there's so many good vegan products, but my personal choice, and I don't want to sound puritanical, but I really love whole foods, plant-based, whole food, plant-based. I mean, for lunch I had some what's called forbidden rice. It's like a black rice from China. So delicious. And then I sprinkled on some pumpkin seeds and some teriyaki sauce and a little bit of veggie burger. A lot of those products are absolutely delicious, and I have no problem with support. I want to support them because I think that that's a really important step. But my favorite meal is actually like a good whole food, plant-based veggies. I love salads. I love rice, and pasta's not whole food, but I like all that kind of healthy stuff as opposed to the more processed stuff. But I do eat a lot of the good, delicious vegan products, and I fully support that and what they're doing and how those products are helping people move along.
That's right. Do you cook your own meals?
I do. I love to cook. I love to stir fry. When I was in India, I learned about Indian cooking, Indian dal and lentils. I've learned about, one of my specialties is dal, and chana dal, which is a really good hard lentil. And the harder the lentil you use, the creamier the dal is. So I love cauliflowers and broccolis and stir fries and soups. I make a ton of soups. I don't do a lot of baking, but I do a lot of cooking.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's the healthiest way, by the way, cooking your own food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, are there? Do you see growing vegan options? I know you mentioned that one just opened.
Yes. Well, there's the vegan restaurant that just opened, but then, of course, every other restaurant, I think that they've been forced to offer, at the very least, one vegan option. And I feel like they've only done that because of, because of demand, but also because people have sort of gotten pushy and they've insisted that, you need to start doing this. So they have started doing that. And that's why I feel like activism, there's a whole spectrum. You have to have like radical street activists, you have to have intelligent medical doctors and lawyers at one end of the spectrum, and you've got to have people being pushy, you've got to have people being patient, you've got to have people being kind, you've got to have all walks of life and all forms of activism, I feel, have their place and they're important. So I don't say that form of activism is not good and it's not effective. I feel like it's like a seed that's going to land in the right soil. So we have to have all kinds of seeds and all kinds of soils.
Teamwork.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Mr. Mark, I believe those were all our questions.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I thank you so much for coming out, and I do remind people that I'm right here in the small town of Guerneville, which is in Sonoma County. We're kind of way out, but it's a lovely vacation town. We get lots of tourists. I swim in the river every day, and encourage everybody to come out and see the trees and see the river and the mountains, and yeah, come out and enjoy it, especially in the summertime.
And visit this art gallery.
And visit this art gallery, yes.
All right, great. Well, thank